Good morning, guys. Oh, it's so good to be here with you this morning. On my way in today, I was just filled with gratitude knowing that we get to wake up, we have breath in our lungs. God woke us up on purpose this morning, and then we get to come here and just lift our voices and spend time with God and with each other. And I'm just really grateful for that today, especially after the morning I've had. It just feels really good to be here with my church family and to be here with my friends. I'm really thankful they get to join us. A few weeks ago, we had our elders up here, and the feedback I received was just amazing. You guys really enjoyed getting to know them. So I thought it'd be fun to have a few of our ministry leaders up here as well, so you could get to know them. So we're just going to jump right into it this morning. I'm going to ask you guys to share your name, how long you've been attending Southview, and a little bit of your story with us this morning.
All right. My name is Jasmine, everyone. I lead hospitality. Been at Southview on and off for my entire life, and it actually really leads, plays a big role in my story. So I was introduced to the idea of Jesus from a very young age. After my parents got divorced, my stepmom actually attended Southview. And a little bit into their relationship, my dad said, whether or not we work out, these are my people now. And so quickly, we became part of the Southview family. So growing up, I went to the church camps. I loved VeggieTales. I mean, who doesn't? But there was this, I didn't know Jesus in my heart. I just kind of knew the words to the songs. And I just remember feeling so empty and lonely for so long. And I know that this tends to be where a lot of folks look, but I looked towards relationships, both friendships and romantic relationships, often very toxic for my self-worth. I looked to academic achievements. I thought maybe if I became the top of my class, that I would be worth something more, even though at church they say I'm worth something, but it didn't mean anything to me. So it wasn't actually until college I was at a Passions concert, which, if you're not familiar, it's this moving concert across all of the United States, and really great music, energized people, awesome atmosphere. I went because friends told me to go. And so I remember sitting there, and I closed my eyes, and I know we've talked about the voice of God and how it's kind of different for everybody. And this was the first time I closed my eyes and clear as day saw a group of people facing, in a circle, facing each other. And I was on the outside of the circle. And I was like, dang it, this is me. I was like, I am always on the outside looking in. I can't find a place. I have to fake it to make it, essentially. And I remember just feeling devastated. And then just as clear, the circle opened, and I saw Jesus. And Jesus extended his hand to me and welcomed me into the circle. I'm not going to say that I immediately grabbed that hand, folks. It took a second for me to say, okay, I'm going to accept this, this invitation, because it was just absolutely terrifying. And it's interesting because I haven't actually told the story to many people, because people do hear God in different ways, but he does speak to me very clearly in visions. And it was just such a powerful moment when I linked hands with the people in the circle, and it became clear that we weren't facing each other. They weren't facing each other. They were facing Jesus. That was the difference. That was the thing that I was missing. So after that moment, I'm not going to say that I had this great confidence, walked around feeling like I was on top of the world. No, I still struggle with mental illness. I still struggle with loneliness. But I have a helper, I have a best friend now that I get to walk through life with. And if I wasn't welcomed into that circle by Jesus, I don't know how long I would have stayed on the outside or found people that, weren't a part of the circle that I thought were maybe good enough. It would make me feel good enough too. So that's my story. And luckily I got to come back to the Southview family after college and after some time in DC. So it really does feel like full circle to be back here and to actually not just sing the words, but feel them.
I love that. As I'm sitting here, I'm thinking I've never heard any of these stories, so I'm leaning in and excited, and I immediately always get teary-eyed when I hear about that moment that Jesus reached out, because that's how it works. Jesus is actively seeking us always. So thank you for sharing that.
Hi, everyone. I'm Marshall. Let's see here. Southview, how long have I been here? About 2 weeks before Pastor Williams' last sabbatical. I moved down here to the DC metro area the end of 2013. Pastor William went on sabbatical January 2014, do his dig in Jordan. So that's how long I've been here. Prior to that, I was living in Boston. I was there for about a year. And then prior to that, I was back in my hometown of Denver, Colorado, after spending 12 years in the United States Army. So got to go and see all the cool things that you guys have already seen. So that was my trip here. I didn't grow up in the church, unlike a couple of us here. So I didn't really know Jesus until I was an adult. It was while I was in the service, one of the other guys at boot camp, he would take me to the church service on Sundays, and found out that that's an easy way to get out of chores on Sunday. But I mean, that's just him, starting to feed the breadcrumbs. So my tours overseas, I had a pretty interesting one in Iraq. I got to sit across the table from some Al-Qaeda leaders. My time in Afghanistan, I sat in shuras, no tables there. They ate on the floor. From Taliban leaders and old Mujahideen leaders. And the second one was a little bit more rough. So I was in Helmand province during the Marja invasion. So lots of interesting things that happened. So when I came back home, I said, okay, let's decompress and go back to school, get my degree. I was freshly married, and everything fell apart. So that was what I thought was rock bottom. So I sat in the church for the first time since being in boot camp, and pastor said something. We were going through a study of Nehemiah, and it stuck with me ever to this day. The message was, God wants you to be humble. If you don't find humility, he will humiliate you. So that started my journey. Moved to Boston, continued to see what the time overseas kind of did to you. Another individual who was doing missionary work told me that it's weird doing missionary and hearing your story about being in the military. When you're confused and don't understand the two worlds, you lean into the one that you think that you can do the most good in. So that's why he continued to do ministry work, and that's why he's continued to be drawn in back into the military, trying to do government contracting, things like that. Continue to go down a spiral until I came here, and I sat over there in that corner. After my first service, Megan came up and did a beeline to me and invited me to her small group. And I shortly after that, I took over this small group, and I've been in some sort of small group leader or coordinator for all the small groups here ever since.
Awesome. Thank you for sharing. I didn't know that story as well, and it's a really beautiful one, and I'm thankful you shared it.
All right. My name is Jenna Kirkhart, and I serve as the Family Ministry Director. I've been attending Southview since I was pregnant with my first kid, who's now turning 3 on Friday. And I was raised in the church, going to church with my family, and I'm so thankful that my parents brought me to church and insisted on going. Even when they didn't like the pastor and they stopped going, they kept making me go. But I'm so thankful for that, because I don't think I could have survived all the things that I've gone through in the past 5 years or so without that faith. I got married, and then we moved 1,000 miles away from home. My husband was in the military, and we, within a year, witnessed a friend committing suicide. I had a miscarriage. My own father committed suicide. And now just going through the really long days of raising young children. I don't think I could have gotten through any of that without my faith, and I wrote it down because pregnancy brain is real. And I knew I wouldn't remember any of that. But yeah, through the grace of God, I've just had peace through all of those things. Those are big things and scary things, but I've never felt like I was alone through any of it. And I've always just had peace and just known God was right there with me, walking with me. And so that's why I'm here today.
We love that you're here.
Hey, everybody. Is this on?
I don't know.
Okay. Yes, good. I'm Macy Puryear. I'm the student ministry director here. I've been attending Southview for about a year and a half, right after my husband Joe and I moved up here. I also wrote my stuff down because pregnancy brain is real. But I grew up attending church. I went to a really large church back home in Charleston, South Carolina. The foundation of my faith was really built there during my middle school and my high school years. I had a really great student ministry program there that poured into me so much. But my faith really changed when I went to college as my childlike faith kind of dwindled. My faith journey became really a lot of an internal struggle. I kind of unintentionally stopped pursuing God and felt a lot of guilt over that, felt unsure of what I believed, what I should be doing. It was very much like an internal roller coaster for me. Until I moved to Atlanta in 2019 and started attending Buckhead Church, which is a partner church of Southview, and how we actually found Southview. While I was there, I joined a Bible study, both to build community and also to start rebuilding that relationship with God that I had been missing, because I realized that going through life without Him it was not as easy. It was very difficult not having somebody to lean on. So yeah, as an adult, I felt like I knew Jesus, but I didn't really understand what it meant to accept His forgiveness and His grace. I felt a lot of pressure from myself and from others around me to be perfect. I felt like I couldn't really go to God if I wasn't perfect and living up to His standards. So when I thought about God, my first thoughts were always, what am I doing? What am I doing that's displeasing to Him, and what do I need to change so that He will accept me? Which are pretty toxic thoughts to be thinking about Him all the time. That's definitely not how He wants our relationship with Him to be. So throughout my time at Buckhead and Southview, I really learned what grace was all about, what it meant to accept His grace, and that I don't need to be perfect, because I never will be perfect. Nobody ever will be. And I learned that Jesus has already done the work for me. So there's nothing that I can do to be more deserving of His grace. He's done the work, and I just need to accept it. So that really switched my focus a lot from an inward focus of what do I need to do to be more perfect so God can accept me, to more of an outward focus of what can I be doing to help others find Jesus. And yeah, that's pretty much it.
Thank you. There were a few common things I heard throughout all those stories, and one of those is that Jesus will always seek you out. He's going to find you no matter where you are, no matter what you're going through, no matter what your past is or what your current situation is. He will seek you out. I love that. I love that we have a God that loves us so much that He will find us wherever we are. Another thing is that once we find Jesus, it's still, life's still not easy, right? If we go through really hard things, we go through really beautiful things, and He's there to walk with us. We can walk in His strength and His wisdom, and we don't have to do it on our own. Heard that through all these stories. And then the final thread I heard was community. Each one of them found people to walk with along the way. And that's really what it's all about. When you have Jesus and when you have others to help you, you can make it through. And so I kind of want to keep going with that community thread today. And so you guys are not only volunteers, but you also have chosen to lead. I know it's not because you have a ton of free time, right? So why have you chosen to say yes to not only volunteering, but leading the ministry area, and how has volunteering changed your life?
So it's, to your point earlier about, God chasing you a bit. I always knew I wanted to get plugged in with the church. That was something that my husband and I were very aware of. We needed a small group of some sort, and I wanted to find a place to volunteer. Growing up, my dad and my stepmom set an amazing example. Like, everyone knew who John Grindle was. Like, it was just such a part of life that it felt abnormal not to help at the church, because it was like your family. If somebody asks you to do dishes or take out the trash, or when somebody walks in the door, if nobody says hi to you at Thanksgiving, like, you done something wrong. And so really church is that. And so I knew I needed to get plugged in somewhere. Didn't really know where. Was very fortunate that I was already connected with Pastor Williams. So when I came back from DC, he raised a couple of opportunities throughout the church, and I'm like, Pastor William, I'm a big introvert. I was like, I don't know, please don't stick me out there with Megan. I love her to pieces, but I cannot say hi to absolutely everybody. And so he was like, well, we haven't had somebody, that pours into hospitality in a while. How about you try that out? I was like, sure. And he was like, you would be a leader. And I was like, oh, I'm not equipped for that. I'm sorry. Just, tag me in. I'll help whoever's leading out. But God came back to me again and again. And really throughout my professional career, as well as my personal life, he has instilled in me the ability to lead. So it's not through my own capacity, and I'm very aware of that, but the desire, to lead as well. And so my heart for my team has only continued to grow. I love every person on my team. I love this church too. And it's the passion that builds in me, and that is completely sourced from God. So that's honestly why I, took the step, as well as decided to lead, was, all God.
And we're thankful, because you do a great job back there. You and your team are fantastic. If you haven't checked it out, if you're new, we have coffee, warm drinks, cold drinks. There's a refrigerator, lots of yummy snacks. So thank you for that.
I guess it's my turn.
Mm-hmm.
It's because I'm selfish and arrogant.
I don't believe that.
So, like I said, I didn't grow up in the church, but I had friends that did attend church and small groups. This is where I got to really develop my family here. So moving down here, this is Southview is what made me feel like this was home. And the small group, we get to have dinner, a weekly night dinner, which is amazing. And that's where we have those discussions, where we get to be vulnerable. Things that those friends that I had would talk about. And, I got to sit in from the outside looking in sometimes. So I get to actually host that, and I get to give that to everybody else here too. So that's the vision of the small groups here. Is we're at home here, but we get to be family on the weeknights, and break bread and have good laughs and good times and talk about the sound systems. And
Mm-hmm.
He's a really good cook.
And my wife
I'm
is
in.
the peanut gallery.
Who doesn't love to go to someone's house and eat dinner? I'm in for that. But also, small groups are life-changing. We're so thankful you lead that ministry. Marshall just launched a new small group, so that's really exciting. But I know for me personally, through some of the hardest times of my life, I had Jesus, yes, but I needed a community that I met with weekly to remind me, you're going to get through this. I needed them to point out where Jesus was working in my life, because I was too blind to see it. I was too heartbroken. So small groups is a really important ministry, and we're so thankful you lead that area.
So I said yes to leading because there was a need for it. Somebody had to do it. And selfishly, I wanted to make sure that there was always a nursery or preschool room for my daughter to be in. Right. Yes. Well, just wanted something.
We need a nursery.
I know how important that is. It might seem like a small thing. It might seem like 1 hour a week that those kids are down there, but for a parent of a 1 to 3-year-old, that's a big thing. Absolutely. To have an hour off a week where you can come and sit and worship God and think on a grown-up level and say hello to people. So that was kind of my main motivation. And then as I was writing out this answer, I was thinking about it. And like I said, I grew up in the church, and like that's where I met Jesus. That's where I became a Christian, is through the different church programs that I attended as a kid. And so it does make a huge, huge difference. So it's so important that we have that and it keeps going, and that we provide that for those kids and for the parents.
Yeah, I decided to, to volunteer for student ministry because of the impact that it had on my life when I was in student ministry. Like I'd mentioned earlier, my church had a huge student ministry program that was so much fun. It was something I looked forward to every single week. In fact, if I had gotten in trouble, my mom would ground me from going to church, and I'd be like, anything but that, take away TV, take away sleepovers. And I really found my community there as well. To this day, still one of my best friends is someone who I met because of student ministry when I was in middle and high school. So because of the impact that it had on me, I really wanted to give back and have that impact on other students. I also had a small group leader in middle and high school who poured into me so much, both on Sunday mornings, on Wednesday nights during youth, and then throughout the week too, just checking in. And that really, really helped me build a strong foundation of my faith while I was growing up. So it was just very important to me to have a student ministry program, because middle school and high school is a transitional period. It's really messy and confusing. You're going from childhood into adulthood and trying to figure out who you really are as a person. So having a community to be there for you and having adults who have gone through that to help guide you is huge and can really make a difference in students' lives. So I had been interested in getting involved with student ministry and learned that we didn't really have a program going on really since COVID. And I was hoping that somebody else would take the lead and that I could just be a volunteer, show up on the weekends. And that didn't happen. I really felt God nudging me into this position. And so when I finally said yes, okay, I'll do it, I really saw my own faith flourish from doing that. I really feel like I'm living out God's will for my life. He had this spot planned for me in advance, and here I am doing it. And I love it. Getting to know our students has been the most incredible thing, and getting to be there for them as they figure out who they are has been such a blessing.
We are so thankful for our family ministry team. You guys are killing it. If you haven't been downstairs, sometimes you can show up to Southview and you don't even realize we have family ministry because it's downstairs. If you haven't checked it out, the family ministry wing is beautiful. The kids are learning new things every single week. They get to learn how much Jesus loves them. There's trusted adults down there that get to pour into them, and it's all because you two stepped up and said yes, so we're really thankful. We touched on this with the elders a few weeks ago, and I would like for you guys to think back to when you first started volunteering. I think a lot of us have been there when someone asks us, hey, you want to step up and do this? Or we feel God gently nudging us, no, God, not me. It's either insecurity, there's fear, there's so many reasons we stop ourselves from saying yes. We ourselves were too busy, we don't have enough time. There's so many reasons, the list goes on and on. So I'm wondering if you guys faced any of those obstacles when first saying yes to volunteering.
1,500%. Yeah, as I mentioned, although I'm up here and I can speak and look at faces, I am an introvert. It took a lot of coffee this morning to get me up here. And so I think for me, beyond just I do have a day job and obligations outside of work and everything too. So I knew that it was going to be an extra time commitment because you don't see more than what I do on a Sunday morning, there is planning and stuff that goes into that. So there was that side of it. But with the introvert side of me, I was like, oh no, it's that awkward balance of I want a team, but I also don't want to talk to anybody because I'm so scared. And so knowing that I would have to build a team from scratch, and I would have to talk to other team leads and attend like Saturday meetings and everything and do icebreakers in those Saturday meetings, my goodness. So there was a lot of fear. Like feelings of inadequacy and everything that went into that. But like I said earlier, God equips you completely. Like he doesn't take all the fear away from me. Like I still get nervous sometimes that I'm going to mess someone's name up or, stumble or like forget to plug the coffee in or something like that. But there's so much grace. There's so much grace within your team, from the leadership. And the cool thing about Southview, too, is because it really is a family. This is not a mega church where, you're going to be lost in the numbers. You can get plugged in one ministry, and then Megan talked about this before, that she's worn a lot of hats. You're not stuck where you try the first time. It's not like you serve coffee one Sunday and you're just like, dude, that wasn't for me. Like, I guess I can't volunteer. There's other places for you, and like we're all so passionate to find the right fit that it's a team. It really is. It's a team and it's a family. So life gets crazy, and all of my fears sometimes do get realized because I'm an anxious and stuff person. But I have the safety net of the people I love around me, and like what better way to spend my time than serving the Lord. So
All right. So when I first came here, the first thing that I got plugged into was first impressions. I'm the opposite side, sorry. I do love people. I love meeting people. Like what make you tick. So I didn't really have any hesitations there. We have a rule in our house. If you've been to our house 3 times, congratulations, you get your own water. So at that point, you're family. So when you're at home, you do chores. So whether it's vacuuming, doing the dishes, doing the laundry, washing the bathrooms, doesn't matter. So if you're at home, you have a chore to do.
Did
so
you start doing chores on visit number 4?
Ryan comes over and does dishes for me. It's fantastic. So here, that's what volunteering is. It's doing my part as a leader here. It's helping guide those who are trying to get plugged in as well. So the small groups being outside of the church and being able to do that, it's where I get to come in and it's like, okay, well, what's going to be the next study, or what's some exciting activity that you guys want to do, and being able to say, hey, we want to go do this activity, or we want to go do this, or we want to do, one of the cool ones that we did years ago was financial peace for a summer. We were able to do that. And that's the cool part, is that it's so much more than just being here on Sunday. And you get to see everything that you've been able to put into, and you get to take care of it. So it's more than just a chore to come to church. You get to do, and you get to grow the church as you're here.
I love that. I love that you get to look at it as your home, and since it's your home, you want to take care of it and help it thrive. Great way to look at it.
I would say I wasn't insecure or anything, but I definitely wanted to make sure that I wasn't neglecting my family or anything like that when I stepped up. And I feel like that's just been an area that God has just given grace. Like, God will provide. If you feel like you don't have time to do something, like, he will make extra time in the day somehow if you just say yes and you step forward. And even before I was in a leadership position, I volunteered on Sundays a lot down in the nursery or preschool room. And that wasn't a time thing. That was more of a, like, am I going to be able to still have time to worship or time to be up here in service sometimes, because I would be down there several weeks in a row because we had a very small volunteer team at the time. And so when I started as a leader, that was my big focus, was taking care of the volunteers. And so that's really been my main thing. Yes, I lead the kids ministry and everything, but really I'm leading the volunteers. And my goal is to never have anybody serve 2 weeks in a row, and to make sure I'm checking in on people and I'm getting to know them personally and praying for them every day. And so that's just been a really cool way to look at it, and it's been really great because so many people have stepped up and stepped into kind of smaller leadership roles so that I can focus on taking care of them. And I know that's something we've talked about, is something we'd love to have for all the other positions, is somebody who kind of takes care of all those other volunteers. So if you feel like that's you, let us know. You can talk to us in the back afterwards. But it's really been so rewarding, and yeah, I think God just provides whatever it is. If we're feeling insecure, he provides confidence and bravery, maybe sometimes blind confidence. But over time you learn, like, okay, he's going to show up for me, and he's going to provide the time, and he's going to provide a work position where I can bring my daughter with me, and she can just run around the stage while I work, and it's no big deal. So he'll always provide.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I definitely had doubts when stepping into this position specifically. Just a couple weeks after I talked to Pastor William about taking over this position, I found out that I was pregnant and thought, ooh, God, are you sure I'm going to have time for this? Like, I don't really know. And he's like, yep, this is what's going to be happening. I was like, okay, so just trusting him and that he will provide time, and also my fantastic leaders that I've got who help with student ministry. I definitely could not do it without them. But I also wanted to share a little bit of my husband's story with volunteering, because he was recently very, very hesitant to join with student ministry. So I'm just going to share with you guys what he said. So Joe said, I felt like I wouldn't have time to balance life, work, and other commitments. I also felt like I wasn't qualified to be leading youth. I lead an adult small group, and leading adults is easier because they aren't necessarily looking up to me as an example the way teenagers would. Teens are more easily moldable. I was worried that they'd be watching my actions closely and had doubts that I'd be a good example. 2 things led me to volunteer. First, my wife voluntold me. That is true. But secondly, I saw that there was a need, so I decided to give it a try. I've loved getting to know the students and being able to provide a different perspective being a newer Christian. Since I wasn't a Christian in high school, I've been able to emphasize the impact that their actions can have on a non-believer, as I recall the impact that my Christian friends had on me. I realized that not knowing the Bible or being a perfect Christian isn't a roadblock. What's more important is giving honest and open answers. It's okay if I don't have an answer to a question, because I know that we have the resources that can help me and the students find those answers. Volunteering made life a little bit busier, but it doesn't feel like a chore. It's a fun part of the week that I look forward to, and I'm really glad that I gave it a try. So kind of like what Jasmine said, give it a try. If you feel interested at all, go for it. If you don't like it and it's not for you, you're not set in stone to keep volunteering in that position. We can find a place for you. My husband Joe and I tried hospitality one week, and we are not morning people, so that one wasn't a good fit for us. But we eventually did find that good fit, and we want to help you guys find that good fit for you as well.
Absolutely. Thank you guys for sharing all of that with everyone today. It is so scary getting up here and then to share your personal story too. So thank you for doing that. Our mission at Southview is to see people far from God be raised to new life in Jesus Christ. And because so many people have said yes to volunteering, we're seeing people say yes to Jesus. Because we have small groups, there are people that aren't ready to come to church, but they come to Marshall's small group, or they come to one of our other small groups, and they get to hear about this guy named Jesus that loves them, even though they're not fully bought in yet. We've seen people say yes to Jesus because of small groups. We're seeing teens have been baptized. We're seeing kids downstairs learn about the love of Jesus, even though their home might be broken and it's not the best environment for them. We're seeing people come in and they're so nervous to be here at church, but they get to walk over and grab a cup of coffee, grab a snack, and that helps them feel safe in this environment. And it's because people have said yes to volunteering. And to really make it work and to really reach people in our community, we need everyone who calls Southview home to step up and say yes to volunteering. You all have gifts, you all have talent, you all have passion. And even if you don't know what it is yet, God will reveal it to you. All you have to do is ask. We've all been there. We were all unsure about where God wanted to take us. And after a while, he nudged us, and we finally like got the hint. Like, okay, I was the same way. I tried First Impressions. Sorry, Megan, hated it. So scary. You'll still see me out there now, but I get nervous. I did kids ministry one weekend. Never wanted to go back. Loved student ministry. It was such a blast pouring into teenagers. I still connect with all my teens all the time. There's a place for you here. We have hundreds of opportunities. And so today I'm really excited that if you hang out after the service a little bit, you'll see tables in the back. All of our ministry leaders are going to be out and available. There's handouts that explain the volunteer opportunities, the time commitments, how you can get engaged. You can just meet with our ministry leaders and get to know them. Absolutely no commitment necessary from you, but it's a really great opportunity just to put a face to the team and maybe take that opportunity to step out of your comfort zone and sign up to join a team. That would be awesome. Thank you guys so much. Before we dismiss and everyone heads to their tables, I wanted to share a few upcoming events with you guys because there's a lot going on here at Southview. Next weekend is family dedication. We're super excited about this. There will be one big service up here, so no kids ministry that day. We'll have worship. Steve Kane will be back, Pastor Steve. He was a pastor here for a really long time, and then his family moved to Southern Virginia, so we're excited to have him back. And then we get to just show our support to these families. And then February 17th, right, is Parents' Night Out. So parents, yay, we finally get a date night. That's exciting. So save the date for that. It's free. All you have to do is register, so share it with families in the community. Let them know that there's a free date night coming up. The kids are going to have a blast with ice cream sundaes and yummy food and games. So it'll be so much fun, and you can get a much-needed break. And then our students are heading back to camp. I'm super excited about this. Camp is life-changing. It's just an opportunity to step out of your comfort zone and be with people that love Jesus, leaders that love Jesus, in a special, intentional environment. So we're super excited about that. If you have not registered for camp, it's for rising 6th graders all the way through 12th grade. You can submit your deposit by Tuesday, please. And if financial assistance is needed, please let us know. There's scholarships available. We don't want finances to get in the way. I think that's it. If you have any questions about what's going on, download the Southview Community Church app. Everything is in there, and it stays up to date. I'm thankful for our leaders, and I hope you guys will stick around to meet them at the end of the service. You guys have a blessed week. Thank you.